My name is Veronica Villegas, and with me is Maya. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're logging in from. I'm currently located in New Jersey, so it's 4:32 p.m. here on this side. Um, I am the Senior Program Manager of the Returnship Program at Amazon, and with me is Maya Appiah. She leads the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team at Amazon, and she previously led the inclusive hiring function at Microsoft. We're super excited to discuss our professional background, tell you what we consider to be our superpowers and initiatives that we each lead at Amazon. Just for some expectations, this conversation is going to be super informal, so we encourage you to ask questions in the chat that we will try to answer as we engage in the discussion. Maya, I'm going to turn it over to you. We want to learn from you. Tell us about your professional background, specifically your DEI journey and your superpowers, and how does the work that you do impact the work that you do at Amazon, just from a broad scale.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks for being here, everyone. Really looking forward to this conversation. And like Veronica said, we want it to be just that, a conversation. So invite you to add your comments and questions just as we're talking too. In terms of my journey, I am the daughter of immigrants who are Indian via East Africa. So come from a long line of immigrants and entrepreneurs, was lucky enough to be raised in Southern California and in beautiful San Diego. But because my family is spread out all over the globe, my main objective when I went to school was, let me find a job that will pay for my travel habit. Thought I might join the Foreign Service because of that and become a diplomat. As my sort of academic and early career evolved, I found myself kind of pivoting away from that space, landed in the nonprofit sector, supporting an organization called Vital Voices that works with women leaders across the developing world. And it was an awesome experience because it really helped me learn from so many different examples of women's leadership from literally every corner of the globe. And really what was similar across all of these leaders too was that they were so deeply rooted in their communities, and really understanding sort of the dynamics of all of the different key players in their environments. And it's something that I've strived to sort of embody myself as I think about my own leadership journey. Flash forward a few years, I was in Washington, D.C. doing that work and getting to travel. So still got that box checked off my list. But I wasn't necessarily sure that the nonprofit sector was, I started to become convinced, okay, maybe this isn't the only place to have social impact. And I'm a very purpose-driven person. And so that was really important to me, was having, doing work that I felt like was making the world a better place. But I kind of realized, maybe there's some other avenues I should explore to be able to have that impact. This was at a time that tech was just getting flooded with resources, VC funding, really smart people, hiring like crazy. And I sort of said, there's got to be something going on there. But I was also kind of perplexed because I felt like the tech sector broadly was producing a lot of products and services that didn't necessarily make the world all that much better. And so I was sort of perplexed at like, why do we need like so many laundry delivery services and apps that say yo when we have all these other technologies to communicate? And it got my wheels turning. And so my agenda was then to say, let me enter the tech sector and see if I can influence the way that what products and services come to market, and just get a better understanding of what's driving those decisions. I ended up landing at LinkedIn and really consulting at that time with talent acquisition teams on how to use our LinkedIn products better. And a few light bulb moments happened for me then. I realized, getting sort of an inside view into a growing tech company. At the time, LinkedIn was about 12,000 employees. And I got to partner closely with our product teams. And that's where the light bulb moment kind of went off for me was, oh, the people who have access to building major product roadmaps, who's in the room when that decision is being made of what product or feature gets prioritized, who has access to VC funding when it comes to startups. those were the questions that I started asking and realizing that diversity, equity, and inclusion work was really for me all about creating that access to those companies, access to jobs at those companies, access to advancement opportunities at those companies to be able to do that, access to a network that unlocks funding opportunities, et cetera. And so that's really a guiding force for me in terms of how I think about DEI work. It's about creating access, and my journey since then has evolved to Microsoft, and now I'm about 7 months into my journey at Amazon. But I really hope to be doing work. Our team sits in diversity, equity, inclusion in talent acquisition specifically. And so I just feel really lucky to be working for one of the largest employers literally in the world, and working to create access for more people to economic opportunity via careers at Amazon.
A question I have for you, Maya, is have you always been in talent acquisition, and how did you make your way into talent acquisition?
Yeah, no, I the first time I worked with a recruiter, or like really understood what a recruiter's job was when I was getting recruited to work at LinkedIn. So no, definitely did not sort of have my eyes set on talent acquisition. It landed there sideways. And so when I was at LinkedIn, as I mentioned, my kind of key clients were talent acquisition leaders. And I got to work with them to understand, okay, what's your business strategy? What are your business goals? Therefore, wait a minute, what kind of talent do you need to be able to make good on those business objectives? And so that was kind of my first foray into TA was through my LinkedIn experience.
Interesting. And what would you say are your superpowers?
Yeah, I love this question, Veronica, and I want to ask the same of you too. I think I was giving this some thought in advance, and I wanted to frame it in Amazon's leadership principles. Amazon's leadership principles are really, for those who are outside of our company, these are really the guiding force. Like, they're more than just writings on the wall or broad vision statements. This is really embedded into like how we operate, how we collaborate, how we make decisions. And so when I think of two of our leadership principles that stand out to me as hopefully superpowers, if not things that I would aspire to have be my superpowers, it's this idea of thinking big. And what I mean by that is I'm someone who's typically dissatisfied with the status quo. And I think particularly in the DEI space, we have major opportunity, and frankly, we're a little bit behind in terms of raising the bar on what inclusion really looks like in corporate spaces. And I think we've sort of, when I think of the work that some of the major tech companies in the world do, we innovate in all of these other places, but we've been a little bit slower when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And so my aspiration is to help the company think bigger about what we can do to really to strive to be the Earth's best employer, which is another LP leadership principle. And the second one I think about is, I don't love the phrasing, but this leadership principle is called "are right a lot," like the idea of leaders being right a lot. And at first I was like, that sounds kind of rude, kind of egotistical. And then I dug into the definition a little bit more. And to me, what this leadership principle is about is trusting your gut, and then actively working and proactively seeking out diverse perspectives to disconfirm your beliefs. And so I love that idea, because certainly I became a mom just less than 2 years ago, as you know, Veronica, and my toddler has really tested me sometimes. And I've realized I've got to sometimes just trust my gut instinct, because there is no playbook for this whole parenting gig. But I also really like this idea embedded in "are right a lot," which is, how can you be confident in the decisions that you're making? Part of that is thinking about who's in the room helping you make that decision with you, right? Whose feedback and perspectives are you taking into account? Are you really thinking about all the broadest customer or stakeholder base possible as you make those decisions? And so that's something that is a good reminder for me too, particularly doing DEI work, is who are the folks that are going to be most impacted by these decisions, or who doesn't have a seat at the table, and we've got to do our job to create access for that group. What about you? Tell me about your superpowers.
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about my career, which I think it's very similar to you in multiple senses. So I am also an I was raised, or I'm an immigrant myself. I moved to the United States when I was 8 years old. And then also my parents are also both entrepreneurs. But my professional career specifically has not gone in a straight line as I would have envisioned when I graduated college. In fact, I like to joke that I've had careers worth multiple lifetimes. My experience spans the government, entrepreneurship, and public sector. I'm actually a military veteran. I served in the Army for 8 years right out of college. In the reserve component. So while I served in the military on a part-time basis, I was also a part-time civilian working for a Fortune 500 company in an HR generalist capacity. After multiple years in HR, I decided to take the leap of faith and become an entrepreneur. I wanted to be like my parents. And I developed a jewelry distribution business from the ground up. And between China and the Dominican Republic, both countries that are foreign to me. And within 3 years, we built a business from distributing to 0 stores to over 400. And that's where I had my light bulb moment, if you will. I realized at the top of my career, when we were very successful and we were distributing to almost the entire country, I realized that I wasn't happy. I by that time I had been to Iraq, and little did I know my purpose had shifted. Like you, I'm very purpose driven. So I learned a very important lesson that completely changed the approach to my career. I realized at that moment that my business, although was making a lot of money, that was not my motivating factor. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. So I decided to sell my business. I decided to pack my bags, come back to the States, did my MBA. And here I was, I had all these experience in different sectors. And then I had an MBA. I decided to go into talent acquisition because I wanted to explore different careers. And I thought that was the front seat to be able to do that. And during the 5 years, I worked at Verizon. During those 5 years, I got promoted every year. And then I finished leading the military recruitment team and military strategy and programs for the entire Verizon. And that experience was so fulfilling because I was creating an impact on society and on veterans' lives. And that's when I realized that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay in talent acquisition. I wanted to be able to change the narrative, and I wanted to be able to continue advancing the programs that impact society. And so after 5 years, I decided to take the leap of faith and jump to Amazon, because I know that Amazon, which with its huge scale, I was going to be able to continue impacting society. So at Amazon, I lead the returnship program. And for those of you that don't know, the returnship program is a program that was created in 2021, and it's to provide a low-risk environment and clear path to restart the careers of professionals who have been 1 or more years of unemployment or underemployment. And this program, like you said, Maya, really reflects Amazon's commitment to hiring and developing a more diverse workforce. And so what we learn is that the average returner has been out of the workforce for 6 years and has a less than 10% chance of getting a job offer after two years of being unemployed. And in fact, the majority of those the majority of returners are women. And what we see is that 3.5 times women are more likely to leave the workforce because they want to take care of their families. And so they cite caregiving as the reason why they left the workforce. And so for me, as someone who also left the workforce and had a hard time finding my way back, this was a perfect fit with my values, and it really aligned well with what I was looking to do moving forward. And so to answer your questions, I think my biggest superpowers are that, like, think big, and then also I think that being my authentic self and being able to really take from my experiences what I've learned to be able to make decisions and be able to drive the whole program forward has really been my superpowers. But more than anything is being my authentic self, which is not easy sometimes. But I think to the Amazon's leadership principles, which is I write a lot. That definitely helps because I have a voice at the table and I'm able to really make decisions and defend my decisions based on what I see. And so I know that's like a long answer to your question.
I love it though. And I love the idea of like authenticity in that idea of our right a lot too, right? People don't hold back here, right? There's no sort of politeness for the sake of politeness. It's, hey, we hire really smart people. We hold the bar really high because we feel like we have to leverage every single person's immense brain power, right, to solve the really, really sticky issues in front of us. So.
Yeah. I had a question for you. As there's so many initiatives across the marketplace in DEI. What makes just tell us a little bit about what your vision is and some of the work that you're doing around that vision.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I think my approach for DEI is to take as much of a connected and holistic approach as possible. I believe that change starts from within. So our team has a real focus on enabling our recruiting teams to be thoughtful and inclusive in every single candidate engagement. It means scrutinizing our recruiting systems and processes and tools to ensure that we're not unintentionally excluding anyone from our processes from becoming part of our talent pipelines. And I also think we need to take a long-term view, right? Amazon and most of the tech industry, I would say, has a lot of trust building to do with a lot of historically marginalized communities. And that trust isn't earned overnight, and it absolutely needs to be earned. And so I think part of the investments that our team has made is to say, how can we start collaborating and take a partnership-driven approach to earning trust? And that's got to be work that happens over, the next now 2, 3 to 5 and kind of ongoing work that takes place. It's not going to be overnight. There's no silver bullet solutions as it relates to DEI. And in the talent acquisition space, that's something that we get challenged on a lot, right? Is, the TA team will handle my DEI goals for me. That's a common misperception across the industry, really. And so it's something that we've got to be proactively influencing is how do we help Amazon understand that it's every individual's responsibility and our collective responsibility to society to do better as it relates to our DEI work.
Awesome. Thank you for that work you're doing, Maya. I'm super excited. It's 4:50. I think this panel has ended. So thank you all so much for joining Maya and I, and we're super excited to have shared a little bit about ourselves.
It's great to meet everyone. Thanks for having us.